Dungeons & Dragons features a robust pantheon of gods and goddesses. Each deity has his or her own agenda, domains, and spheres of influence. With such a variety of divine lords and ladies comes a multitude of teachings and religious philosophies. This provides some great opportunities for creating stories, adventures, and settings. Here are some ideas for some different types of religious locales. A grand cathedral in the center of a bustling city. A small temple in a rural village, which at first seems quaint and homely, but serves as a force of protection, hope, and education for the local population, without which the settlement would have fallen several times. A roadside shrine that wayfarers stop by to make offerings for safe travel and good fortune. A hidden temple where strange cultists take part in ceremonies most people would find too odd or disturbing to take part in. An island shrine that can only be reached by making a treacherous trek through rough waters, jagged rocks, and up a steep cliff. After creating a religious temple, you can then decide which god or gods it is dedicated to, and create an NPC or two to occupy it. This is a great backdrop for adventures. The characters might receive a quest from a local priest, or perhaps an adventurer leads them to the temple. Deities also provide great role-playing opportunities. Adventurers, especially divine characters, are influenced by the teachings of their religion. This can help shape a character's personality as he or she strives to embody the god's teachings or struggles with maintaining the faith. As well, when two party members have conflicting ideals, it can lead to interesting philosophical debates, or just some good old-fashioned religious arguments. You are stifled and controlled by Bahamut. Sehanine relishes the freedom that I enjoy and allows me to live my own life. You simpleton! It is because of Bahamut and his faithful guardians, such as I, that there even is a city in which you can enjoy your supposed freedoms. An empty argument. I've heard it 100 times before. You think that you have to serve some self-righteous god of laws and holiness in order to defend a settlement? Then you are the fool here. Impulsive elf lovers like you always oversimplify things and turn a blind eye to the facts of history. It has always been the defenders of honor and sanctity which have held civilization together. And narrow-minded cattle like you always obsess over ingrained tradition, as if people are static and could never innovate or create their own new destiny. Romanticize yourself with illusions if you like. In reality, if you were given total freedom, you would only be free to be robbed, raped, or killed. And so on and so forth. As a DM who loves to build his own fantasy world, I have created and refined several deities throughout my life as a storyteller. It is no small task creating a god and a religion from scratch, but over time, they have come to take on almost a life force of their own. A lot of this comes from the actual campaigns. Whenever the characters take part in an important adventure which leads them to a divine NPC or divine location, I try to insert tidbits, small pieces of the god's teachings, or perhaps what followers of that god might be like. At higher levels of play, the characters have even come to meet the gods face to face. In my Heroes of Erland campaign, which is currently level 28, the character Zeriel has just become an exarch of Theros, god of storms, air, and haste. She herself is a storm sorceress with the demigod Epic Destiny. Through these quests and role-playing scenes, I have been able to bring this god to life and give a sense of wonder to the story through the experience of the characters having interacted with such a force of influence and power. A piece of advice here. When you know that the characters are going to meet a god, spend a little time writing some things that the god will say. Gods speak very profound words and use wise sentences sprinkled with ancient words. When the characters meet the god, give a powerful description of the experience, including how they feel the deity's spheres of influence permeating their being. It also helps to practice a very affecting voice for the god. I say all this because you do not want the rare and intense scene to come off as underwhelming, nor do you want a god that seems unconfident or doesn't know what to say. Role-playing a god or goddess may be one of the hardest things to act out, but if you pull it off, it is incredibly rewarding. On a miscellaneous note, I have had some very interesting points in campaigns where a god is killed or imprisoned or forever altered. In D&D, the gods have tremendous power, but they are not completely indestructible. There are ancient gods which died long ago in wars fought against primordials or aberrant lords, or in feuds with other gods. Some gods have become so obscure that they almost don't exist anymore. Some gods have secret weaknesses that high epic level characters can discover and exploit. Events in which a god is affected so substantially are quite rare, and they have far-reaching ramifications in the world and the cosmology of the planes as a whole. Next are some words of wisdom from the deities. You can use these when creating a character who worships one or more gods as a way of giving your character something to reflect upon in regards to his or her religion. Or if you're DMing, these are useful sayings that divine NPCs can expand upon. Amunet. Survival allows you to exist where others would perish, to go where others fear to go, and to claim that which would otherwise be left unused and unappreciated. To know the mercy of the desert, you must first know her cruelty. Avandra. Nothing of significance is ever achieved without taking a risk. Life is change. This is the foremost tenet to embrace. The second most is to realize only the good-hearted can guide change towards progress and freedom. Bahamut. A lapse in the vigilance of the just is the open doorway of the wicked. The ideals of life's sacredness and of the institution of justice are the very foundation upon which the whole of civilization rests. Even savages, orcs, gnolls, ogres, bear a tiny seed of it, and that small amount of order and honor separates them from the ultimate depravity of demonhood. Corellon. Beauty, art, music, poetry, dance, all of the creative pursuits serve to help us understand life and what it is that makes it worthwhile. The first cry of a child is her first song, proclaiming to the world that she is alive. Her first laughter is her first spell, enchanting those who look upon her. Those who take such things for granted have begun to lose the ability to perceive the small places in which magic hides. Erathis. A single strand can be snapped by a child. A group of strands woven into a thick rope cannot be burst by 10 men. The forces of chaos were defeated at an enormous cost to the gods of the astral sea. The taming of the crude wilds is our gift to you. Let our victory never be in vain. May you use this gift to its fullest. Avelian. Skill in combat without ideals is misguided. Devout faith without physical might is ineffective. In order to seek out and defeat the forces of darkness and corruption, we must be active. We cannot exist simply as church-bound acolytes. It is not wrong to be meek by nature. It is only wrong for one to suppress the potential to be a champion. Ayun. If you are governed by emotions alone, you will be inefficient, inaccurate, and likely trivial. If you are governed by reason alone, you will be unmotivated, mechanical, and disconnected from others. Bring emotion and reason into harmony to develop the mind and the self. Knowledge is like a seed. If it is nurtured and brought into ample light, it will grow and come to benefit many. Cord. Cowards live tiny lives, in tiny little ruts, always fearing that which will challenge them. If you are weak, you live at the mercy of those around you. You are as a sheep in a flock. If you are strong, you forge your own destiny. Melora. Many people realize that life keeps a balance, but few realize that the balance is not a steady one. There are periods of rage and storms, and periods of peace and growth, and only over the great span of time is balance achieved. The sea can flow, or it can crash. It is the cradle of life, but also a tempestuous wilderness. It provides channels of civil interaction, but contains no true kingdoms. Though many nations have sailed the sea, none can claim to be its master. Moradin. Inspiration is the force that causes you to create something wonderful before you pass on. All life forms feel it to a certain extent. Even a base animal feels a drive to create offspring and a suitable dwelling. The pinnacle of this force, however, is when a person creates that which serves as a lasting monument of tradition and loyalty. Defend the self, to defend the clan, to defend the kingdom, to defend the world. Pelor. Life, in and of itself, is already wrought with setbacks and suffering. The more you alleviate the suffering of others, the more time you create for your community, and in turn for yourself, to focus on the more meaningful things. In separation there is loneliness, in jealousy there is contempt, in famine there is depravity, in darkness there is blindness. Shine my light into all places of the world, bringing hope that the sun shall rise again tomorrow. The Raven Queen. All things die. No matter what creed or code or magic is employed, death comes to all. Shed your delusions and realize that when you fight my cold embrace, you are fighting against your own nature. I have woven your destiny upon the fabric of fate. Do not be so foolish as to think fate can never be changed. Retha. Of all the gods' creations, which is more splendorous, more diversely vibrant, and more full of life than the forest lands? Why must the druid and the shaman be separate from the cleric and the holy man? They are but branches of the same tree. I have gone from beast to woman to spirit to immortal, and though I have seen through different eyes, I have served the same overall purpose. Sehanin. Choosing between the utter light and the utter dark is merely a choice between two kinds of blindness. Remain in the temperate shadows, avoiding those who would resent your freedom. Life suddenly makes sense when you realize it is a trick that is being played upon you. The key, then, is to be in on the joke. Soth. The astral sea began as a place of absolute purity. All current dominions and beings are just variant imperfections of that original purity. The pure heart, full of faith and grace, shall have an angel watching over in time of need. Segura. What can you hear when you exist in the silence of your soul? A person going through life without balancing the self is like a table with legs of different lengths trying to hold a meal. Saibunus. The dead and the living are not so disconnected as many believe. Those who live may still yet affect those who have passed over, for better or for ill. Those who would disturb, thieve, and pervert the dead and their resting place would do the same to the living, were they not cowards. It is your charge to keep sacred that which may eternal lie. Theros. Cast off the sluggishness of the body and the mind. Sloth is a blockade which halts your life, weakens your being, and allows enemies to have their way. Be ready at all times. Train the body to react with speed, and the mind will follow. In the direst of moments, he who acts succeeds, while he who ponders is defeated. Air is the greatest of the elements. It cannot be caught or imprisoned. It ushers in seasons. It gives the majestic gift of flight. Upon the winds fly souls unto the heavens. Seek you closeness with air. As you might have noticed, I have intentionally left out evil and chaotic evil gods. Mostly this is because player characters usually don't worship these deities. Stress on the usually. So if you are ever looking for a great hook for your character or your next adventure, you might consider a god or a goddess and all that comes along with their particular religion. Until next time, this is Esper, wishing you happy gaming.